Drop it.
Hello, and welcome to Be Real, the Maryland Real Estate Podcast. I'm Brad Cox with the Vesta Group of Long & Foster, and joined by my partner in crime,
Michael Becker of Sierra Pacific Mortgage. Great to be with you this week, Brad.
Right back at you, Michael. Dude.
Before we talk about the topic,
Yeah.
du jour or de, I don't know what's French for week. I gotta look that up. But anyway,
Du week.
du week.
Yes.
Just say it with a French accent.
Right,
It's just
exactly.
fine.
Yes, du week.
Du week. I'm thinking of that scene from Mighty Python.
Well, don't you?
You smell of elderberries.
Yes.
Anyway, before we get into saying what the topic is, let's thank Randy.
Yes,
Cottrell.
Randy Cottrell. Blue Crab Inspections was our first guest last week, and
He did a great job.
He really did. Yeah, grateful to Randy.
Lots of good
for
information.
Super great information. Thank you, Randy, for being a part of the show. That was really a nice addition to the show last week. And we're going to have other guests.
We'll have guests. They add content. We don't know everything, even though we like to act like we know everything.
That's true. Very true.
So it's always important to have experts on the show.
Yes.
The other thing I wanted to do is let's follow up with what we talked about because it had been resolved a little bit. We were complaining
About Lamar.
Well, it's contracts because it's going on forever. And we
Forever
knew we would
is
have.
right.
We thought we would have a resolution. Well, we do,
Kind
don't.
of, but don't. Right. Yeah.
So it was franchise
We
tag.
do and we
know.
don't. Yeah.
But it was a
Franchise tag.
non-exclusive tag,
Right.
which means anybody can talk
Well,
to him.
it's a very smart play by the Ravens because they can let somebody else set the price and then decide what they want to do.
They obviously weren't willing to give him a fully guaranteed deal,
No.
which doesn't make sense.
Well, the guy
just
should
because
have had,
Cleveland was dumb enough to do it for Deshaun Watson doesn't mean another owner should.
Yeah, and he should have had an agent. He just was.
100% agree.
Yeah, no.
It was
His negotiation on this.
So
has
we'll
just
see.
been
A lot
off.
of the people were pointing to Atlanta as a possible home for him and other places, and a lot of them have backed off.
Right.
Doesn't mean they're not going to negotiate
It'd
with
be
him.
funny
or
if he
want him.
didn't. If nobody else.
Well, do you know that?
It can't happen.
Do you know that Carolina, who was also a potential home, thought as a home for Lamar Jackson, made a major trade this week with Chicago.
Oh, really?
They got Chicago's number one draft pick. They sent DJ Moore and future draft picks to Chicago for their first round pick,
Okay.
which means they're going to draft one of those four quarterbacks coming out. So Lamar's probably not going there. There are plenty of other teams, but you're right. It was a good move by them. We couldn't come to terms. I'm hopeful. I would love to see Lamar come back, but I don't want him giving up the house to do it.
Right.
We don't want to have our hands tied that all we have is Lamar and we can't add any other.
And then we
parts of
can't
this.
execute anywhere else.
It's the most important position in all of sports.
Yeah.
Hence the highest pay. But
Let's be reasonable.
and the Ravens are making moves. They've made Michael Pierce. They renegotiated his contract, saving a million off the cap. There's a few other players that they've done that too. They've also traded Chuck Clark, safety.
Yeah.
Because we seem to be pretty deep in safety, especially since we drafted our first round draft pick last year was a safety to the New York Jets. So we're saving that cap room space won't come till later in the year, but they're pretty good with it. The Ravens have always been good managing the cap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think because of the cap is probably why they're not exclusive tag. So we will see, folks, but we don't know when this could be a Ravens.
Don't know what to expect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But good news is they're playing Cactus and Grapefruit League baseball, and the Orioles will soon be in town. The first game's March 30th, although it's kind of weird these days how opening day, the first day of the season, is not been in Baltimore for several years. Again, we're starting in Boston this year on March 30th. I always loved that.
I would love to have, yeah. I mean, you get the home opener.
But it was fun forever we had the first game of the year was at Camden Yards or even before that Memorial Stadium.
Yeah.
Anyway, this week's show
Yep.
is preparing your home for sale. You got a lot of good information about that. But why don't we start what we normally start with? And
Let's do the rundown.
Rundown. Yes.
Great.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about mortgage activity this week. It's been a trend, and that trend continued when it came to interest rates and applications. Rates have been rising, and applications have been dropping for the last 3 weeks. Fourth week in a row, rates rose. But guess what? applications ticked up.
Yeah.
People want to still buy houses even though rates are going up. The seasonally adjusted purchase index increased 7% from 1 week earlier. The overall index increased 7.4%. That's interesting. You know why? For some reason, the refinance index also picked up. That seems strange.
Which is very strange.
In where rates are, it's less than 1% of borrowers out there have a rate between 6 and 7%.
Right. It was really telling. 50%, I think, had below. It was like 3.63%. 50% of or more had below 3.63%. So you wonder why nobody's moving. It's because...
Well, I don't know that. There's a guy out there, I follow him on Twitter, he works for Housing Wire, and he's got some compelling charts that say they're not locked in by the rate, it's more of the payment.
Well...
it's not that...
Which is derived from the rate, though.
Agreed, but if the payment fit, they would make
if the payment fit their budget, yes. But it's hard to make the payment fit your budget when it goes from 3.5% up to 7.
And he points out that it's been a long, the homes available for listing, for sale has been declining.
Dropping.
And there's a lot of things going on. Maybe that's topic for a show, but let's talk a little. Let me get into specifics. Again, I said the overall index increased 7.4% on a seasonally adjusted basis. The purchase index increased 7%. Purchase applications are down 42% from last year at this time.
Yeah.
Refinancers down 76%. The 42% down, and this time last year, rates weren't in the 3s. They were in the low 4s.
Right.
By March.
Right.
Kind of goes to show you how we don't need rates in the 2s and 3s for market to be a little bit more vibrant.
5s would be wonderful.
So we saw an increase in rates, and I voted. I vote every week on bankrate.com. I vote on Wednesday. I always talk about it. This data comes out Wednesday morning, and it's probably from the previous week.
Right.
We always follow Mortgage News Daily, which updates the rates every single day.
Yeah.
What do they have the rate over in the middle of the week, say Wednesday, Thursday? It was over that dreaded.
Well, it was, yeah. We were at, 7.05%? Yeah, 0.5, yeah.
Not as high as it had been, but it had been over. And many people, in many scenarios, were over 7% this week. My prediction was for rates to continue to rise. This is the reason. Ever since the data that came out beginning with the January jobs report that came out February 2nd,
was so much higher.
Followed by a CPI, it shows an economy that's stronger or moving along at a better pace than the Fed would like. And the market started pricing in a more aggressive Fed. There were thoughts that they may go back to a 50 basis point hike or a half a point hike to the federal funds rate at their next meeting, which starts March 21st and concludes March 22nd. So that was one of the reasons. And then I had to vote from week to week. In that week period, I had the jobs report, which came out Friday, March 10th, which is the day after. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. And then we have the CPI, which comes out next Tuesday. Both those, I think, may put upward pressure on rates, so I voted for up. But guess what happened on Thursday afternoon and Friday? What happened?
Rates dropped.
They improved about a quarter percent.
Well, yeah, about a quarter point.
In a day and a half, it's a pretty good improvement.
Yeah.
Two things. One, which we'll talk about in the unreal, because it is kind of unreal. It's been a long time since this happened. It was the second largest failure.
Run on a bank.
Bank failed. Second largest since Washington Mutual. Silicon Valley Bank. It's a very specific type of bank and who it catered to. And
VC mostly, yeah.
There's reasons it failed, but it was a big deal. And there's a lot of worry out there, contagion worry. Who's got money with them? Mm-hmm. Will this affect the banking system in any way? I don't think so, but that's part of the rally. And then the other part of the rally was the jobs report came out Friday, and the headline number was 311. Another strong headline number. Markets were predicting somewhere in the neighborhood of 220. I saw estimates from 200,000 to 245,000.
But the headline number didn't really tell the whole story.
It didn't tell the whole story. One thing that happened is the unemployment rate. Even though we had 311,000 jobs, the unemployment rate increased from 3.4 to 3.6.
Right.
People ask me all the time, how does that happen when you have 311,000 jobs created and the unemployment rate increased? Well, first thing you must understand, there are two surveys in the non-farms payroll report. There's the establishment survey where they contact businesses and ask about their hiring. That's where the number of jobs created, the 311,000 number comes from.
Yeah.
There's another survey that's a household survey where they call people and ask them about, are they working? Did they apply for a job? You come up with numbers of people who are in the workforce, people who are looking for jobs, and people who are unemployed. Well, according to the household survey, 416,000 people joined the workforce last month. Only 117,000 or 100. It was a little over 100,000 of them found jobs. The increase in unemployed was well over 200,000. So that increase in the unemployed, because more people came back to work, increased the unemployment rate.
Right.
Markets looked at that and says that might be a good thing. The fact that there's so many open jobs and so few people to fill those jobs, the ratio is almost 2-to-1 according to the JOLTS report, Job Opening Losses report. More people entering the workforce might put less pressure on wage increases in the future. And that did bear out last month.
Yeah.
The markets were looking for a 0.3% increase in the average hourly earnings, and it only went up 0.2.
Yeah.
The year-over-year number, people were concerned it was going to be 4.8. It ended up being 4.4%. It's still a little hotter than the Fed would like, but that was better than expected. So in all, it was a strong jobs report, but it wasn't inflationary, or it didn't have the Fed as scared. So the combination of the Silicon Valley Bank closing its doors and the jobs report had the Fed funds future rates by the end of Friday back to pricing just a quarter-point hike. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future.
Well, CPI is going to be telling.
That'll be, and you know what's funny is I think the CPI headline number will be good, but it's the core number that's going to concern the Fed and markets. And that's my prediction for that, because gas has become pretty affordable. It seems like goods.
I was driving down the street earlier today. It was almost
right around 3.
Just about 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big improvement. And eggs have come down, lumber's come
Thank
down.
God.
A lot of right, eggs. But a lot of the goods part of inflation has moderated or come down, and that's because supply chains seem to be improving. It's the service sector part of the economy, that part of the inflation that the Fed is worried about, seems to be a little sticky. So we will see. So hopefully the core number, if the core number surprises to the good side, maybe we'll see a little bit of rally in interest rates. But I'm happy that they dropped back on average.
I'm always happy to see that happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So that was my wrap for the mortgage and interest rate data.
Good.
We got some stuff on real estate sales.
Yeah.
listings,
So
etc.
once a month we get into the previous month's total numbers. So we have the February numbers now available to us, just dropped today. And the closed sales, February 2023, are down pretty precipitously. So we had the 5-year average is 2372. Our February 2023 number is 1981. So closed sales down, new pendings down. 5-year average 3319 in February 2590. Active listings down. 5-year average is 4651. February was 3306. That's a big drop. And months of supply, we keep talking about this. It's been a long time since we've seen a balanced market.
You told me before the show.
So, yeah.
How long it's been since we had 6 months.
So September and October of 2014.
8.5 years.
Yeah, that's the last time we saw
Well, I don't even
months of supply over 6 months.
Again, we said last week, I believe, that 6 months may not. 6 months of available inventory may not single. That would probably, in this market, signal buyers.
That would be a strong buyer's market given where we've been.
I think
buyers
2.5 to 3 months.
Sellers would be sellers would be saying, "What do you need to buy my house?" Yes, if we got to 6 months again.
I mean, Mindy has a franchisee who had a home in upstate New York.
Yeah,
listed it for sale. I imagine it was a very nice home. 44 offers.
44.
Yeah.
Wow.
Still.
Well, I think that's the issue. You don't have very much inventory out there right now. Months of supply is about 1 month. Now, at our lowest, we got down to about
half a second.
About half a second. About a half a month, about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks, but that's about right.
And it's gone.
Yeah. Yep.
Nope. we're going to list.
Just missed it.
Here's a listing you might like. Oh, it's gone.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about a couple other things.
Please.
The
Enlighten me.
the median sales price.
Yes, sir.
Year over year, up 2.8%. Well, that's the thing. Everybody's talking about, and I think it's important. You hear these nationwide numbers, and they keep talking about rates dropping. Not rates, but prices dropping.
Home values
dropping.
But Case-Shiller indicated that, but that was
Right.
most of the drop was in the hottest markets, like you said.
Yeah, but that's the point. In the hottest markets. Out west, not so much here. So we were up 2.8%. So the median sold price in February, $329,000 for the Baltimore metro area.
$329,000.
We had average days on the market up 17.9%. We're at 33 days on the market, the average days on the market. And I wanted to break down also by county to give you an idea. In every county except one in the Baltimore metro area, and the Baltimore metro area is considered Baltimore City and then any of the surrounding counties.
Anne Arundel, Harford,
Howard County, Carroll County, Harford County, Baltimore City.
From a lending standpoint, Queen Anne's County is considered.
Yeah. Is it the MSA, part of the MSA or something?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So overall, I mentioned that the median sales price was $329,000. That's up 2.8% from last year, which was $319,900. Every other county was positive except for Baltimore City. Baltimore City went down 4.2%. Now, that's 1 month. That does not make a trend, but Baltimore City down. Contrast that with Howard County, where 2022's median price was $435,000, and it's up to $500,000 in February of 2023. So that's a big change. Now, we talk a lot about the average sales to list price ratio. Year over year, what would you expect to have happened?
Well, with rates rising, maybe it not being as competitive market, you would think the sales to list price would drop a little bit, but maybe not so much.
So you're psychic, right? You're spot on. A little bit, not a lot. So February 2022, in almost every county, it was above 100%.
Well, that was a strategy. List it low and get a bit more going.
It was list low and get multiple offers. And I thought I had a property listed in, well, this was actually 2021, toward the end of 2021, but it was, still COVID era. And I thought I was being aggressive. There was a property that we had listed in Edgewood that normally that neighborhood, the highest price of that style home for any home in that neighborhood had been $265,000. And I said, well, let's list it $285,000 and see what we get. And we got 125 people into the open house and 22 offers, and it wound up selling for $315,000. So I wasn't even trying to price low.
Right. You priced aggressively based on it, but that's...
Yeah.
Did you have...
So,
do you remember the appraisal? The winner, did the appraisal matter on that loan?
It didn't matter.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But, so anyway, every municipality except for Baltimore City was over 100%. Baltimore City was at 98%.
This was in 2022.
2022.
Now.
2023, they're all just slightly under 100%. But, again, Baltimore City is about the lowest of all of them.
Slightly under, tell me.
99.63 in Howard County, down to 98.32 in the Baltimore metro area, but 98.43 in
99%.
in Anne Arundel County, but Baltimore City about 95.15%. But all of them are down between 1.5 and 3.1%. So still.
Is there any way to track this data? I'd like to see it. And that is number of properties that had a price drop or sales price drop.
Right. I can get that number. Maybe I'll report on that the next week.
Because it'll go to what we are. There are some places that are seeing price drops.
Yeah.
You hear Realtor.com mention it, or at least I think I saw on CNBC the CEO of Realtor.com mention it, saying housing, and it's probably true in some markets. I don't know that it's true here, and I'd like to see the data on that. So,
yeah.
Anyway,
right. Well, I'll take a look and see if I can come up with that. But
see, that'll entice people to tune in next week, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
See how I did that?
All right. Well, so what is that going to mean for buyers and sellers? Homes are still selling if they're priced appropriately for the market and for condition. They're still selling. Buyers are still buying. Originations, loan applications went up.
That's and it was seasonally adjusted, so that was encouraging.
Right.
7% purchase application increase.
So there are still buyers out there. Sellers, if you're thinking about selling, you're still pretty much at the peak in this area for
Do you think that
sales price.
All right. Let me ask you this for sellers.
Yeah.
Does it matter the price point you're at? So, does $1 million home, is it tougher to sell in this market than it was a year? Obviously, it might be a little bit, but
it is. Well, if it's financed, it's much tougher, right? If you have, yeah. So that's a good.
However, somebody who's buying that $1 million house might be sitting on so much equity in the $300,000 house that they bought that's worth $550,000, $600,000 now,
right? Where they're really not financed.
They can put a substantial down payment.
Can almost get under a jumbo and still buy them.
I was just thinking of a specific client of mine who's interested in selling and downsizing, and then got scared, thinking they missed the opportunity to sell their $1 million house. They may not have.
I don't know that that's true.
Okay.
Yeah. Michael?
Yes, sir.
When we come back, we're going to get into the scoop, preparing your home for sale. So, we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Try it.
And welcome back to Be Real, the Maryland Real Estate Podcast. I'm Michael Becker of Sierra Pacific Mortgage. As always, I'm joined by
Brad Cox.
The Brad Cox.
Brad Cox. I'm pretty sure I'm but I don't know if I'm Brad Cox.
The Brad Cox.
Brad Cox of the Vesta Group along in Foster.
The amazing Brad Cox.
Oh,
Vesta Group.
You're too kind.
Along in Foster.
You're too kind.
So, Brad, we talked about buyers and sellers in previous shows.
We have.
And we talked about the process of selling a home.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that people need to understand when they go to sell a home is you have to prepare your home.
You do.
Before the sale.
We always talk about how you only get one chance to make a first impression.
Oh my goodness.
In fact, it's right inside of our buyer's guide. The very front cover, inside the front cover, it says you only get one chance to make a first impression.
I'm going to look at this buyer's cover while you say that.
Thank you.
This is in fact true.
It is quite.
I know it's true.
But the point is that yes, you get one chance, and where that first impression occurs nowadays is even earlier than where it used to be. It used to be curb appeal. Now it's web appeal.
I was going to say yes, because a lot of people visited the home, right? On an open house, you have to put your best foot forward on an open house.
And that was the earliest time that people would see it, right? Mm-hmm. Or, they see a sign in the yard. But now, well, for the past, I don't know, when did Zillow come out? When did we really change with the democratization of home data?
8 to 10 years ago, I would say.
It's probably been,
about a decade.
Yeah, so it's really changed the process. And now it's more web appeal than it is curb appeal. Curb appeal is still super important.
It's still important. But it's the web appeal that pulls you in to want to actually go visit the home and take a look at it.
That's what gets people in the door. And that's the key when you're trying to sell your home, is to get the bodies in the door, because that's what drives the interest and the offers. So, couple of reasons why you might decide to sell your home, right? It could be too small, could be too big. You might get a new job. You might want to be closer to the family, right? There's any number of reasons.
Closer to family, changes in the family, divorce.
Right. You may want to be farther away from family. You never know.
I said that one
week. You did. I remember that. Yes.
I could think of a few family members. I wish I was.
Oh, come on.
I'm
No.
kidding. I love everyone in my family.
I love your family.
But divorce.
Yeah, sure. There's
is
any
a
number
big
of reasons.
reason. That's a lot of transactions. It seems I've handled in the last few months have been
It's the worst case, right? The estate probate world.
that happens as well. Exactly.
There's any but so here's the thing: get people who were used to what was happening during the COVID era, and that's all that they've really paid attention to over the past couple of years. Saw that you really didn't have to do too much to get a home ready for sale.
Well, like those pictures I shared. Of a listing. We've all seen them.
Bad listing photos. I'm going to publish a book one day.
Listing photos of imagine the dirtiest kitchen with every dirty dish in the sink and everything out, and half-drunk bottles of Gatorade or sodas and everything. It's just disheveled.
All
the bed
over
unmade, dirty laundry everywhere.
Yep.
Take pictures of that, and you're going to list them.
That's in the listing. Yeah. Nice. It's sad. I'll tell you, like I've said before, if I showed up for picture day and the house looked like that, we'd be cleaning the house before we took.
I would. I'd make
before we took any pictures. Yeah, absolutely. Well, so the point is, we're not in the same market as we were during the height of COVID, and there are still multiple offers happening. And believe me,
the better your home looks, the greater chance you're going to have multiple offers.
Right, and standing out against the competition. So we talk regularly about the HGTV world and how those houses are the ones that go quickly, and the ones that are a little bit less updated sometimes sit a little bit longer. But the whole point is that, buyers' preferences have changed over the years. Used to be people would be more interested in buying that fixer-upper. Well, it's a smaller buyer pool now.
It does seem that way.
Yeah. And
it could be a generational thing. It could be that a major segment of the home buying public is first-time home buyers these days.
Absolutely.
And that generation tends to want things perfect when they walk in. They don't have the vision to look at a fixer-upper and see what it might be, nor the time, nor the desire to do that.
Well, and I don't want to paint too broad of a brush, but I think that's the point. More so that they don't have the vision is that people today don't have the time that they did.
If you're a young family, a lot of that
both people are working.
First-time home buyer population is a lot different than it was a generation or two ago.
Sure.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You may have young kids. That might be why they're buying.
And those kids are probably in 30, 40 different sports.
And schools. Both people work.
So you've got a lot going on. So it makes sense that yes, the preferences have changed over time, but the point is that buyers most often want to see the less that needs to be done when they move in, the better off they are. Right. So today's smart sellers, the ones that are, paying attention to what's going on, they're realizing a little preparation can make a big difference, right? That's if it's going to sell, how much it's going to sell for, how quickly it's going to sell, all of those things. So the smart seller, they want to pay attention to a couple of things. They typically have 4 goals in mind. They want to show that they've taken care of the home, right? The little dings and scrapes and things that you see. Yeah. When buyers see that kind of stuff, or to your point there earlier when you talked about the way that the house was just completely filthy or disheveled. When people see that, their minds go to there's a structural repair issue. There's a major problem with the house.
You're not somebody that doesn't take care of things as they come along. I try to fix things every time I open a kitchen cabinet and it wiggles a little bit.
Right.
I'm grabbing my tools and finding the screwdriver and finding what's loose and tightening it.
Right.
It's pretty simple. I was looking at my house this morning and we puppy raised for the Guide Dog Foundation, which we raised.
That's I got a kudos to you guys.
It is hard giving up a puppy.
I could never do it. I couldn't do it. Once that dog's in the house, I'm sorry, that's my dog. I couldn't do it. But I love that you guys are able to do that.
I was looking at a door jamb pretty low down, and I could see where there's some chew marks in from the last puppy that we had. Certainly, if I was listing my house, I would fix those things. I wouldn't think of listing it.
Yeah,
it would take a little bit of sanding and a little bit of paint. That's about it.
Absolutely. So that showing that TLC that you've maintained that property over time, that's a smart seller. The other thing that's important, because you want to keep your buyer pool as broad as it possibly can, is make sure that it's safe. That includes having railings going down the stairs, especially if you have 3 or more stairs. That's an issue for FHA loans.
But no, those things loosen up.
Loans, they do. They loosen up, absolutely. I remember selling a property in Aberdeen, and the deck railing was really loose, and I couldn't get my contractor out there fast enough. And I remember bringing my own ladder up, ratcheting that bolt. I mean, that's all it took. Wow. Ratcheting that, and it was solid after it was done. But to your point, they get loose.
Things get loose,
or if they're not there at all. I mean, there are plenty of homes that they think, oh, it's only 3 steps. I don't need a railing. Mm-hmm. You do.
Right.
So if you have those kinds of things in place, that their systems are working, the heating and cooling systems are working, any of those kinds of things, that's going to increase your buyer pool. The point is, you want your home to appeal to as many different people as possible. Right. So making sure that you can accept those types of financing without major repairs is a good idea. The other thing is that you want to attract the crowd, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about all the time about the HGTV ready homes. It doesn't necessarily have to be
ready, another good term for that.
Turnkey. Right? Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be premium to the nines, updated.
If you rehabbed your kitchen, let's say you're listing a house for sale and you rehabbed your kitchen 5-6 years ago. Now it's not a brand new, but it's still a nice, relatively new kitchen. It's not a 1970s style, 80s style, even 90s style kitchen.
Right.
Doesn't have
the almond color and the Formica, right? Sure.
But you could tighten that kitchen up.
You can, make it a little bit, and you don't have to necessarily spend a ton of money.
I'm thinking of things in my house or maintenance. It's just a matter of maintaining. The backsplash, the way it hits the countertop, there's caulk in there. That caulk deteriorates.
It does over time.
Putting a little bit down, how much is that going to cost? How long is it going to take to fix?
Well, and you'd think it's not going to cost, it doesn't really cost that much to do, but in the buyer's mind, cost gets
that is a great point.
It gets inflated.
Right, what else
3-4 times, right? It's, I got to caulk that. That's going to cost me $3,000. No, it's not. It's $200, but it's going to cost me much more, they think.
Well, you have something here too. Sell fast. You always want to sell faster.
Selling faster for the first couple of days on the market is key, but within the first couple of weeks, if you can get that property sold, you're going to wind up getting the higher offers. If your strategy is, we've got time, we're not in a hurry, let it sit, that's when you're going to get a lower offer for your property.
100%.
Yeah, and you know why?
I think there's something wrong with every property that I've see on, let's say Zillow or anyone, truly,
especially in
realtor.
today's market.
It's been on more than 30 days.
Properties have been selling. Right. And so now, if anybody, and it may have been the case 20, 30 years ago, that, you could leave a home on the market for a while and eventually you'd get the buyer and that would be fine. Mm-hmm. And you'd get a reasonable price out of that. Nowadays, people are so used to property selling so quickly that it automatically registers in their head, there's something wrong with that house.
The exception to that rule is if it's a unique property or maybe a very expensive property where your buyer pool is less, it is going to take longer to find or attract the buyer who sees value in that property.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. All right. But we always talk about that. Selling faster is good. We have this saying, when it sits, buyer split.
Oh, I thought you'd said that. Sorry. That is a good one. When it sits, buyer split.
Yeah. All right.
So a little thing here about maximize value, and you're referencing a Forbes article.
Yeah, so Forbes put together a nice article on affordable high ROI projects to complete this year.
Is it relatively new?
It is relatively new, actually.
No, because that's a story that comes out off, and I'd like to see the updated data.
Yep, this is a new article. Came out.
If it's within a year,
tail end of 2022 for 2023.
That's perfect.
Right. So,
all right. Do they rank them?
They do. So
can I ask you what the number one is?
So some big surprises, right? Focus on the kitchen's number one.
Yeah, obviously.
Right. So, and it doesn't necessarily mean you need to do an entire kitchen renovation. It can make a big difference if you do just some smaller things. Key upgrades, new pendant lighting over a kitchen item. cabinet hardware, updating the backsplash, right? Those little tiny multicolored backsplash tiles, they were all the rage for a while, less all the rage now. Yeah. And so if you have more natural stone looking or muted colors or
subway
tiles, a classic, those kinds of things can make a big difference, have a big impact. You can also paint or reface the cabinets, changing out the flooring.
I was thinking the same. Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, upgrading the appliances, or sometimes just throwing a new countertop.
Flooring anymore in their kitchen. It seemed to all want vinyl.
The luxury vinyl plank is one of the options that's out there. Doesn't have to be that's not the only thing, but that is a very popular finish.
And it's not an expensive upgrade to do.
No, not overwhelmingly. Number 2 in that is painting in general, and I would say I might even flip those and say painting, because it's so cheap in comparison to the payback that you get. It's probably one of the quickest and easiest ways to get more money for your home.
I would agree.
Right? And so the big thing that you want to keep in mind about painting, and if you read any of these, like I think I posted an article from Architectural Digest a couple of days ago, and I talked about how bold patterns and bold colors are coming back, and they're all chic, and not when you're selling.
No, when you're selling.
When you're selling, yeah, paint's great. Go with neutral colors. And in our guide, we make some recommendations for specific colors that are really good, warm colors that create this nice environment that gives people the opportunity to envision possibilities versus looking at a color that you might love, but they think they hate it, right? Gotcha. So you don't want to put that in somebody's head. Neutral colors appeal to more people. That creates a wider buyer pool. Number 3.
After painting. Okay, what's next?
Refinish the hardwood floors.
That's a thing?
That's a huge thing.
Still?
Yes.
Well, because, they're very expensive.
Well,
very few
new hardwood floors are very expensive.
Very few people do new hardwood floors. But if you have existing hardwood floors.
Yeah. Making sure that they're up to snuff now. Really good ROI. Also help to sell. Sometimes it's not always.
You just mean refinishing and sealing.
Refinishing and sealing, yeah. It's not necessarily always about the exact dollar amount that it pays you back, but sometimes people walk in and they see scuffed hardwood floors, and again, it's that inflation of the cost of the repair that can cause people to walk away from a home because they think, oh, these hardwood floors all need to be refinished. That's going to cost me $20,000.
Right.
Well, no, it's not. I think about $3 a square foot is a pretty common price. So, you should think about that.
That's one thing that's written up in appraisals, cost of cures, and it's always much lower than what people think.
Yeah. But those scraped and scuffed floors, they really detract. So if you can resurface them, that really helps out. New hardware, we talked about that.
Replacing doorknobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially make sure it matches, that it's consistent through the house. So you might have some brass fittings other ways, nickel and bronze. No. You want it to be consistent throughout the house.
Similar, right. And same thing with things like light switches and plugs and all that.
How about the light bulbs all being similar? If you're going to have LED and CFC.
We're going to get, I was going to talk about that later, but I'm glad you're mentioning it. But that's such a pet peeve of mine.
Well, I have it in my house just because I'm trying to get rid of some older light bulbs and they don't work.
Well, right. But you're not selling.
If I was selling it.
But if you're selling, you want to have a uniform picture throughout the house.
If I was a real estate agent, I'd probably have a couple cases of light bulbs in my
I always carry light bulbs with me.
Go.
Absolutely. And the key, we'll get to in a little bit about what kind of bulb to buy. All right. Exterior improvements also are very important. So, Michael. This may seem counterintuitive, but front door refresh pays back huge dividends.
Always. It's always been one that he said.
How much you think? Homes and Gardens reported it, but Zillow made the estimate, and it was based on sales data.
So painting the
cost, what do you think the best color is? Number 1.
It ain't red.
No. Although in Scotland, you know what red means in Scotland.
No,
in Scotland, their custom is when you paid off your mortgage, you paid your front door red.
So it makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll go with mine is white.
So that's good color. Mm-hmm. It's not the best color.
Blue?
Black.
Black's
Black is... all right, so here's the amazing thing. According to all the sales data that Zillow
you'd have
analyzed...
to have a house that it would suit.
Well,
black.
true.
Like
That's
a red
very
brick
true.
house with a black door.
Might not be perfect, but black doors and black shutters, and how much value do you think Zillow is saying that added to the homes that sold?
You mean I thought you were asking me a return on investment number.
Well, no, it's not so much return on investment, but that's huge given what it says.
I have no idea.
All right, Homes and Gardens reported it. Zillow's report: a black door could add up to $6,500 in value to your home.
Wow,
that's a huge impact. So, if you have a mauve colored door or some other purple, whatever, paint it black. I see a red door and I want to paint it black. The Rolling Stones had it right.
Gotcha.
Okay. Garage doors, by the way, another big, huge ROI. If you've got new garage doors, that's a really good thing. The other thing outside that's really helpful is lots of green, new plantings and things. That's why spring sometimes is the best.
Yeah,
more desirable time to sell the house because
when the azaleas or dogwoods are blooming.
It's all in bloom and it looks beautiful, right? It adds that color. So, but lots of green, as much green as you can, and cleaning the outside, power washing.
There's so many companies out there that will power wash, and it's not a very... I mean, I have a good one, and I like to power wash, but there are parts of my house that I don't feel like getting up on. Have you ever power washed on a ladder?
Yeah.
You get a little wet?
Yeah.
You get soaked.
I did.
It's all coming down on you.
Absolutely.
So as long as I get... I like power washing decks and the lower areas and stuff like that, but if it's high on the side of my house where the siding is, I think I'm going to pay somebody to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would too. But power washing can make a huge difference there and on things like your driveway and your walkway. And,
folks,
you'd be surprised.
Rent a power washer or have a friend uses it and just do your front steps and leave the sidewalk. It's
a jarring difference.
You know how they have those yellow teeth things and then they show people with white teeth?
Really white. Yeah.
Same
but
thing.
It's amazing.
A similar thing. Yeah. You had and guess what? Over the years, it's been a gradual thing.
Yeah.
And you had no idea.
And you don't notice it. Absolutely.
I could take a picture and show it to you because last fall I did half my sidewalk and ran out of time, and then it got cold and I didn't, and I have two shades, one really dark, three segments of my sidewalk that are that way.
Absolutely. All right, so sprucing up the outside is really important. The other thing that if you can add to the square footage, usable, livable square footage above grade especially.
That is always one that adds a lot of value.
So finishing an attic, like into another bedroom, that could be a huge return. But finishing the basement's also helpful. It's creating livable space, and that's always a good thing. Bathrooms, if you're updating the bathrooms, I mean, you can get pretty involved in it. You can replace the tub, the toilet, the sink, the vanity, but even just the shower head sometimes, if everything else looks pretty decent, is fairly recent. Just putting a new shower head in there can make a nice change, and new
people will turn
and a new faucet. Yeah, absolutely. Right. So that's the Forbes. That's a Forbes article, again titled "Affordable High ROI Projects to Complete This Year." Feel free to look that up. I'll probably put a link to the article in the notes so you can check that out. But anyway, those are some great things.
Well, yeah, and I like this comment you have here to talk about. Last week we had a home inspector on. Right?
We did.
And buyers, in their mind, when they see things on a home inspection, will tend to think it's going to cost an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
They're going to inflate the cost of those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's better to get ahead of that.
Get ahead of it. I said last week, I'm a proponent, and a lot of agents aren't, but I am a proponent of do a pre-inspection as a seller. You're better off knowing what a home inspector's going to find. And if we're, getting back into it's still transitioning, but we're getting back into a more normal market, the more you know about that property, the more prepared you can be to sell it, and the more likely it is that you'll be able to head off any issues that come out down the road. Mm-hmm. If you wait until the home inspection occurs to try to deal with these issues, that can be a problem, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So we also talked about, I'm going to get into a little alphabet soup here now, right? We talked about the 3Ds back in episode 6 when we were talking about selling. Declutter, depersonalize, and detach.
I know what declutter is. I can get a sense of declutter mean a lot of people have a lot of stuff sitting out.
Yep.
Get rid of it, or at least put it away.
Right. Yeah.
You don't want to see a messy house. Depersonalize. Don't need to see every habit or hobby that you have. Right. If your hobby is hunting and you have dead animals on the wall, you may want to depersonalize a little bit. You have other things in mind when you talk about depersonalize.
Well, and even just the family photos.
Really?
Right? A lot of wedding photos. Here's the thing.
A lot of people have portraits in their house.
They do.
Would you suggest taking them
I
down?
would, honestly. And here's why. Go with more generic landscape type artwork, things like that. But when people see your stuff, they think of it as your house.
Gotcha.
What do you want them to think of it as? Their house. Their house.
Gotcha.
Right. Do they have your photos in their house right now? Probably not. So
if
they do, it'd be really creepy.
If you walked in and saw a portrait of your family sitting over the fireplace,
I'd be a little scared. Yeah.
Well, with AI, that's probably going to start happening.
Oh.
They're going to know that you're going to this house. Like it'll be
it'll be your family.
They'll be able to find it on the internet.
Yep.
And do a quick faux painting.
Oh my gosh.
It'll be that way in the future.
Oh,
that's
scary.
Creep people out.
You walk in and it'll be like, "Hi, Bob and Linda. I know you like this. Would you like me to play your favorite music?"
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And
so but you know what? It's coming.
I'm sorry. We could go on. But let's talk a little bit of what's detach.
Yeah, so that's the third D, and that's about recognizing that when you decide to sell, you got to start thinking of it as not your house anymore. Right. It's not your home. It's a house. You're going to sell it. You've got to detach emotionally from it. That also helps when you get involved with the negotiations because it's not your house anymore. It's a piece of property that you're transitioning. And yes, you have grown up in that house. Your kids have grown up in that house maybe. You've created memories, and there's a lot that goes along with that. But the more you can detach from that, the better you can create that somewhat emotional distance, the better off you are. Because you're going to make more logical decisions about what needs to be done. All right, so change up the alphabet soup a little bit. Let's add the big C. We're talking about cleaning.
You know how many times I clean the ceiling fans? People are amazed. How about you said deep cleaning? So you should see ceiling fans.
Ceiling fans are
dust
I
on
can't
them
tell
all
you,
the time.
Almost every house you walk into, when we're showing houses, easily 75-85% of the houses out there, they all have tons of dust all over the ceiling.
Swiffer makes an arm with
Swiffer, yeah, right.
It's an arm, telescopic one that you can put up there and you can dust right over.
Right, little oval kind of arm, and it just
piece
out
of
and
cake.
back.
You talk about
super easy.
The vents. You know what else is another pet peeve of mine?
Yeah,
recessed lighting that has cobwebs in it.
Yeah.
People never clean that stuff.
Absolutely. So pay attention to the details. You want a deep clean. There's a great page in our guide that just talks about all the things that you should clean that you may not think about. So if you want that guide, just remember, we can get that to you. But when we come back, Michael,
we're going to go room by room?
We're going to go room by room, give you some specifics in each room, again, that we detail in our seller's guide. If you want a copy of that seller's guide, just shoot us an email. You know our fancy new email here at BeReal. Hello at BeRealPod.com. Just let us know if you want a copy of it. We'll be happy to ship that out to you. Just shoot us an email and we'll send that to you. But yes, when we come back, get into those room by room specifics that will help you prepare your home for sale.
We'll be back in a second.
All right.
Try it.
And welcome back to Be Real, the Maryland Real Estate Podcast. I'm Michael Becker of Sierra Pacific Mortgage, and I'm joined by
Brad Cox with the Vesta Group of Long and Foster. Michael, thank you
for putting up with you,
for
being here.
That should be that's at the top of the list.
No.
Yeah.
You're the one that puts up with me.
No.
So
let's
what are we
just say
talking
it's a
about
Mutual
this week?
Appreciation
I would
Society.
say that. All right. This week's
All right.
topic is home selling and preparing your home for sale.
Yes.
We talked about some general guidelines in the last segment.
Now we're going to get into some room by room and even inside and outside.
Well,
some specific.
Let's start outside
advice.
and then move inside. How
Let's
about
do that. Let's do that. All right. So exterior of the house. That's what people are going to see first, right? They pull up, curb appeal. We've talked about that before. So, and we mentioned the idea of doing some power washing, right? Keeping the house.
You have a listing of things. You have
fresh
power
and
washing, landscape, fresh mulch, mowing lush lawn.
Yeah.
Those things are all things I do. I can do myself, and
All the
many
time.
people can.
Absolutely.
A lot of people
don't
have
really cost very much money at all.
However, if you don't feel like doing it, and you have your lawn cut, your landscaper will probably help with the mulch.
Absolutely. And if you need
Power
one,
washing's not expensive.
we've got some people.
We got a guy.
Yeah.
Or a
So
girl.
so landscaping,
trash
yes,
cans.
French,
You know,
right.
so-
Storing the trash cans is, people don't think about that, but we actually have a little mini shed on the side of our house where we keep our trash cans, and it makes our house look a lot better because we don't have these trash cans lying around with the lids half off.
I've removed the shed. Our shed was falling apart. The floor of it had rotted out.
Sure.
Got rid of it.
Yeah.
I do have a little area where the trash cans go.
Yeah.
However, I'm going to have to eventually replace the wood in front of it because the wood rots a little bit and the screws come out and
Right.
the door's falling off its hinges. I've reattached the hinge several times.
It's exposed to the elements. That's going to happen.
When I sell, I do realize I'll either have to replace the whole thing or wash, stain, and just do the new door. I might be able to get away with putting a piece of wood in there and rehanging the door.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't sell, or I wouldn't get top dollar for the way it is.
Well, and it's just about the TLC again, right? So, and speaking of sheds, don't forget the shed. Lots of people. First of all,
forget the shed. Don't get a shed. No,
no.
If you don't have a garage, a shed is nice to have.
And if you have a shed, make sure the shed isn't jam packed full of all your stuff, right? I've seen sheds that have 4 different lawnmowers in them, and the tables and chairs are stacked up, and 30 different leaf blowers. And if you don't need to do that, if it's not your business, if lawn care is not your business, make sure your shed's cleaned out too. It doesn't have to be empty, but it should be neatly organized, just like the inside of the house. Right. And then if you have a deck or a patio, something like that, if you can try to create a space where it looks like a space where people would hang out, maybe a little fire pit. Doesn't have to be built in.
Those gas fire pits that sit on the deck that have the little stones on top, they're not very expensive.
Right.
I have one,
Could be great, right? That and a couple of chairs. You create this tableau, this image of
people chilling on their
here's where
deck.
people chill. You create these. I think that's kind of neat.
Would you be okay with all right, so here's an idea. The grill.
Yeah.
Be sitting on the deck to show them they can grill.
Sure.
But
don't put your deck right up next to your house if you have vinyl siding.
Don't put your grill, you mean right up against
That's what I meant. Don't put your grill right up next to the house
deck's
if you have vinyl siding.
Have to be close. The deck has to be kind of close to
the deck does. The grill should not.
Oh,
How many times have you seen warped siding on the side of the house because people put their grill right up to their vinyl siding and it warps it? Yeah.
So the cover that goes over your grill.
Yeah.
Gets beat up by the weather.
It's super cheap to go out and buy a new cover.
Maybe buy a new one, make it look brand new. Right?
Yeah.
And if the people want it, you don't want to move because the girl, I don't want to move it. They can have it. If
Sure, absolutely, right?
Well, I love it. There's nothing better than having family over, chilling out on your deck on when the weather's nice outside.
And you're creating that feeling when somebody comes over and they look at this and they think, "Oh, this will be so great for outdoor
when
entertainment."
I'm cutting my own grass and I smell a grill from a neighbor, my appetite gets whetted.
Yeah, absolutely.
So those are the kind of feelings you want a home buyer.
Exactly. All right, let's move inside.
Let's go inside.
Yeah, let's go inside. All right. So one of the first questions that I get asked a lot is, do we stage this house? Stage or to stage or not to stage? That is the question, right? Thank you for borrowing from Shakespeare, but that question comes up a lot. If the house is empty, it may be beneficial to have a full staging done in the house. If your furniture is decent, in good shape, and we can have a staging consultation, that's also very good. That's something we offer as a free service. We bring our stager in, we walk through, we do a walk and talk, we give you advice on where to position this and that, move that plant over here and fix that light bulb and do this and, but it makes a big difference. So there's an article, bankrate.com, from December of 2022. By investing 1.3% of a home's value in staging, 73% of sellers saw a return of over 7.1%.
It's a big, I would think it was a big return on investment.
It is a big return. It makes a big difference. Similarly, 2021 National Association of Realtors report, 23% of sellers' agents indicate staging helps increase offer amounts by up to 5%. So it can make a big difference.
I like that number in there because I know somebody who stages a lot, and they add 1% to their sales commission. And it said 1.3, so it's probably going to be in that kind of range, the cost of staging.
Yeah,
because you got to, somebody who has invested the money into buying the furniture and the home goods, and then you have to hire people to come out and put it in the house.
With an eye who can put it in the house to make the house. And that's the thing about staging. It's designed, the idea behind staging is to show the house in the best possible way. So you may think, oh, the way we like to live in this house, we have, when you walk in, the back of the sofa is right at the front door, but that's because the front of the sofa is looking right at the fireplace. But if you do that and you create that barrier,
it's a wall, right? There's no open flow.
Right, it's not an open flow. So our stager's going to come through and they're going to say, yeah, let's move that around. Let's reposition this. Let's reposition that. Makes a big difference. All right, carpet. Another thing that can be fairly inexpensive to address if you have carpet. If it's worn or stained, just replace it or eliminate it.
Either replaced or and even if you're not, every listing that I see has had them steam cleaned. If they're in good shape, but you're going to clean them anyway.
Right. If it's in good shape, then you can have them cleaned, and then that's great. But if it's really, really badly stained, or if it's worn, just replace it, or just eliminate them. If there's hardwoods underneath it, that could be actually more beneficial to you.
Yeah,
now,
Michael, the bulbs
you talked about your light bulbs, and here's the point about the light bulbs.
Be consistent.
You want consistent lighting throughout the house, and you want it to look like daylight, because daylight is the most advantageous light.
Why do you think the pictures that they take on listings, it's very
well lit
room?
So when you think about bulbs, those LED daylight bulbs, that's what you want, and you want it throughout the house. Every light bulb that you have in the house, if you can replace that, go consistent, and go with the LED. It makes a big difference. Creating a sense of light in the home is key. If people walk in and it's dark, it seems oppressive.
Dark, dingy.
Not what they want. Paint, ultimate ROI. And we mentioned earlier, think those neutral colors, right? Yeah, emerald green might be the color of the moment, and you might have a wall that's got, you might love your bright red bathroom or whatever it is. And living in,
I always say, houses like to have turquoise and seafoam green.
So I always say to sellers, there's a big difference between living in and loving your home and making it your own and putting it up for sale. When you put it up for sale, think neutral colors. And we, like I said, we have some really good color choices that make a big difference. So if you want those recommendations.
Color, do you have painters?
We also have painters.
That's good.
Yeah.
Outstanding. All right, this is interesting. I have no plants in my home currently.
I think it's great to have plants throughout the house, and it creates a little bit healthier air environment in the home too. So,
They suck up the carbon dioxide and create oxygen.
Yeah,
Having
absolutely.
said that, I cannot stand
yeah,
greenery or faux greenery on top of cabinets around kitchens. That bugs me.
yeah.
You're not recommending that, are you?
No, but you have a
You know what I'm talking about. That's so 90s.
right.
It seems
It's very
dated.
90s. It's like the Tuscan kind of look, right?
Yeah,
With the wine,
you have a border,
the border,
right? A border that has wine glasses and vineyards and stuff like that.
Right, yeah. And hey, look, that was the style, and I'm not saying that looks horrible. Well, that's not necessarily what the typical buyer today wants to see. But yeah, so plants and greenery around the house, I think a good thing. Make sure they're well tended to. If they're dying, not a good idea to have them in the house. But all right, clean windows, yes. Let the sun shine in. Clean windows are important. Be able to see what's outside. That's important to people.
Get rid of heavy drapes as possible.
Drapes.
I'm sorry
think
to cut you off.
No.
It jumps out at me because it's one of the things that turns me off at homes. If I look at a listing, and there are these giant swags and drapes over the windows, bothers me.
Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with if you've got mini blinds or plantation shutters. Very nice. Those kinds of things.
I'm a fan in the bedroom of the blackout.
Well, and that's great for
pull them up,
right. But when you're showing your house, it's up, it's out of the way. Yeah, absolutely. Because you want to let the sun shine in. When you're showing your house, sunlight, bright light. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Yeah. I'm feeling the 60s vibe now.
Anyway. I'm trying to think who that was.
Wasn't that Hair? Wasn't it from the musical Hair?
Yeah. No, but I'm thinking of what band did that. Anyway, Up and Away. I'm trying to think. The same.
Three Dog Night? No. I can't remember. Now I'm going to have to Google it.
The Age of Aquarius, the same people.
Right. Who was that? Well, you're going to have to
Marilyn
find out
McCoo in it, is in the band.
You're going to have to figure out who that is. Anyway, so let the sun shine in. All right. We talked a little earlier about kitchens, right? About you're going to spend most of your time here. Mm-hmm. And clean. Clean the inside of the stove. Clean the top of the stove. You cook. If you're a cook, Michael, you've mentioned you love to cook.
The hood and over it.
Right.
Every home that I've ever rented for vacation, I've cleaned the hood for them. Yeah. They have professional cleaners come in and they clean the countertop. Right. That hood, if you touch
the hood gets
grease.
Ignored. It's grease. Yeah. Well, and the same thing on the tops of the stove. I can't tell you how many times I've walked into homes to show, and there's grease all over the top of the stove. It's harder to clean, but you gotta get it clean. So clean, and also clean off. So the countertops, clean them. Don't have anything on the counter. There's a couple. You could have one or two things on the countertops, right? If you want to create a little, like another little scene, right? If you want to create, I've got a nice coffee maker and 2 mugs or something like that. That's sets a scene for somebody. Oh yeah, here's where I can have my morning coffee. Here's where I can. That's fine, but don't have 20 canisters. Don't have, all the things that people normally have on their counters because they're living in the house. Don't have that on the countertops. All right. If anything is leaking, fix it.
Yeah.
If you can update the fixtures, that's great. There's a lot of ROI in that too. Faucets and things, new faucets, makes a big difference. Really helps to bring out the...
What if the knobs on the cabinets don't match?
I love creating... Wow. I'm not a mixed metals fan, honestly. So, yeah. So if you buy a...
Yeah, they're pretty cheap to buy in Home
They're
Depot,
super
so you
cheap
might as
to
well,
buy.
if you're going to buy, if you're missing one,
yeah,
and you have 15 of them, buy a bag of 20 and just change them all.
Change them all out. Yeah, and so they all match, and then make sure your faucets and things match the metal, and hopefully your stove and things and the fridge match all that too. All right, so major renovation in the kitchen, usually that isn't going to pay you back. Unless
if you're going to do that, I would suggest that you do that a few years before you sell,
so you can enjoy it.
Some time to enjoy it, and then
I will say there's only one client I've ever had who really it made sense for him to do a major renovation, and that's
kitchen
because
was that bad and dated.
Well, it was that, but it was also he owned a kitchen and bath company, so he was able to get things for next to nothing, and he had a crew who could do the work. So he went from about a $350,000 sales price to $530,000 sales price by spending about $45,000 in his kitchen and bathrooms.
So
he made a huge. But nobody can do it for that.
Right.
Yeah, he could, but normally, yeah. So the major renovations, they're not necessarily going to pay you back
I like
if
this
you can
one
do it
here, though, Brad.
Yeah.
Clean the fridge. I've seen. So, I was looking at an appraisal the other day.
Yeah.
Appraiser to verify that the appliances were working and on.
Mm-hmm.
Open the kitchen.
Yeah.
I mean, they opened the refrigerator.
The fridge.
Spilled food, stains everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I clean my fridge, the inside of my fridge.
Mm-hmm.
I would say on once or twice a month.
Yeah,
the inside of it, because there's crumbs that fall, things get spilled, they get knocked over.
Absolutely.
But just not only inside but outside of the fridge too. Imagine grabbing a door handle over a fridge, opening it up, and something sticky on the inside.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
Immediate turn off.
Yeah. Good friend of ours who we might have on the show coming up soon when we talk about maybe doing some spring cleaning. Super expert cleaner.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, we might have her come in and talk about what you should use on those stainless refrigerators to make sure that they don't have the fingerprints and the grease and the streaks and oh my gosh, this is Picasso in creating.
She's great and she'll do it. Like the next one, clean out the junk drawer.
Yeah.
Wow. I hate our junk drawer.
Everybody's got one. Everybody has one.
I pull it out. I said, Mindy, you have clipper savers in here from 20 years ago. You think you're going to use a coupon?
All right, but to Mindy's defense, so does everybody else.
Oh, me.
But the point is,
I get frustrated when I can't open it, or I go to close it,
and then it jams because
or something's wedged in there. I'm like,
right. It's usually the tape dispenser that does it for us.
Well, we have batteries in different Tupperware containers.
Yeah.
You know, the
at least you've done that, and they're not just kind of thrown all in a big jumble.
I'm a neat freak. And I even have the fob batteries.
Oh,
If anybody ever needs a car, if they're,
I'm calling you.
Minnie's sister says I can't get. I'm having trouble getting my car.
My 2023 battery, can't find it.
20 or 2032
or whatever it is.
Whatever it is. I have all three of those. I am prepared.
Michael is my new battery supply warehouse. That's awesome.
Well, you need that. Nothing worse than nowadays with Roku or any kind of TV remote, it tells you on the screen if your battery's running low, so you know.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait till it dies. But yeah, that is cool. I never thought of that because people are going to open it, and if they see, if the rest of the house is clean, and that's a little messy, they may be like, oh.
Yeah. Just you put a negative idea in. Somebody said you just want to eliminate that. All right. Let's talk about the dining room. Couple of things in here. Updating the lighting's nice. Fresh flowers are nice. But here's something that I think is really nice to do.
Set the table.
Set the table.
So how much do you do? Like, you literally, like, good china,
it doesn't have to be good china. It doesn't have to be good china, but it could be stoneware. Nice looking stoneware.
My kids, I have 12 plates.
Yeah.
And out of those 12 plates, do you know how many are not chipped?
Oh, yeah.
2.
Right. Sure. that happens.
Every time I buy anything nice.
Yeah.
But no, I've seen pictures. Like when you see listing pictures, you often see the table set, and it goes as far as having a napkin and a napkin holder on it. Wine glasses out and stuff
Again,
like that.
it just creates this idea of, I can live in the house, I can entertain, I can have nice dinners at this dinner table, I can have my family or my friends sitting around this table, look at all the fun that we could have, right? So, yeah, creating that image, that feeling, that's helpful. And we use that for photos, especially photo day. But if you can keep it set, that's, it's nice when people come in to look at it from a showing perspective. All right.
Let's go into the bedrooms.
Let's go into the bedroom. So we talked about updating the lighting in the kitchens and the dining room. Same thing in the bedrooms, right? Now, the pet peeve is the switch that does nothing in a bedroom. Right? It's really frustrating because you come in and that's the first thing you want to do. And then they either have nothing plugged into that or it's plugged into something that, is not turned on or whatever. But if you've got a light in the bedroom and it's working by the switch, make sure that's turned on so that it works. When they flick the switch, it goes on. In those lamps or floor lamps or whatever that you have attached to that, make sure you use those LED daylight bulbs just like everywhere else. You can have a nice, like a ceiling mounted LED light. If you have, the wiring up there. I'm not necessarily proposing that you've got to rewire your house and put in all new lights, but if you have that, you can do that. What you don't want is old, droopy bladed ceiling fans with lots of dust on them in the bedrooms. So you can have ceiling fans in there. Make sure they're ideally flush mounted, unless you have 20-foot tall ceilings or, really tall ceilings. Flush mounted ceiling fans, newer ceiling fans, clean looking ceiling fans. What
about, I know the answer to this, but what if you had a fan by your bed? Your bedroom gets warmer. You're like somebody who likes it cold. Like I have a nice,
like a Dyson
fan, right? It's not only, I love the feel of it blowing on me, but the sound of it is soothing.
It's a white noise thing.
It's awesome. Helps me sleep.
Right.
Would you remove that?
I would. I'd put it away.
Would you put it in the closet or you?
Well, you could put it in the closet or downstairs or just store it somewhere, but you're giving someone the impression. Here, I use it for noise myself, so I have a fan in my bedroom.
Dyson
and I use
fan,
it for
it's great.
And
even in the wintertime, sometimes I use it.
Yeah, right. And I think it's great. But I also like cool air blowing on me at nighttime. I just tend to get warm at night, so
here's a
I
stat
keep a fan.
Has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but sleep is important.
It is.
Do you know what the best temperature your room should be for you to get the best sleep?
I'm going to say
you're going to like what I say.
I'm going to say at least the low 60s.
Yeah, 62 degrees.
Yeah, there you go.
And he's like, I'm freezing. I'm like, I sleep like a baby.
That's why you got covers.
That's why you get covers.
Yeah,
exactly right. We sleep in bedrooms that are too warm.
They are, yeah. And then you wake up in the middle of the night and you're pulling the covers off, and then your sleep is disturbed. So good point. All right, calming colors in the bedrooms. Gotcha. Again, neutral. But you could do like a pale blue, like a dusty blue, or something like that. It's fine.
Okay, this is controversial in my mind. Removing the TV if you have one in the bedroom. Everybody likes watching TV in their bedroom.
They do, but again, to your point about good night's sleep, and studies show bedroom, it's typically one of two things, and we're not going to talk about the other one. But sleep is a really important thing, and the TV in the bedroom interferes with that. And you're also not trying to show your home as an entertainment showcase in the bedroom. You're looking to...
What if you had it mounted?
Well,
that'd be tougher to do.
Yeah, but it's a little tougher to do.
You just say consider, okay?
Yeah, I would consider removing it. Okay. I would consider removing it. Okay. And if it's reasonably easy to do, then that's a good thing. Kids' rooms, try to take the the toys out. We talked about this when we were talking about the selling process, when we talked about how we deal with kids and the amount of toys that they have, and talking to them about picking their favorite 3 toys. And remember that the rest of the toys are going to be stored away, and they'll be ready for you when you get home, when you get to the new house, and hopefully they forget about them and you can just get rid of them. But not too many toys. And then also, you see this a lot, but you want to keep your family secure. So if you've got kids, I'd suggest taking their names off the walls. If you have that kind of like artistic looking whatever artwork that's got their names on it, I would take their names off the walls, right? It's a security thing. And the other thing is, don't forget the closets. People jam things into closets. You want people to feel like their stuff's going to fit in the house. And if a closet is jam-packed, they're going to be wondering, is this really going to work for me? Right. Here's the rule. 1 season's clothes at a time in the closet. Store the rest.
People have a hard time getting rid of clothes. I have a rule, and I have a lot of clothes.
Yeah, you are quite the clothes horse.
If you haven't worn it in a year,
yeah,
chances of you ever wearing it again is slim to none.
Yeah.
Right? Stuff you wear.
Sure.
If you look at your closet and all the clothes you have, there's probably 15 to 20% that you wear over and over again. The rest is just stuff you bought in the past, and since you paid money on it, you have a hard time getting rid of it. Repurpose those clothes.
Right. Someone else can take advantage of that. Absolutely. Right. So one season's worth of clothes, get rid of the rest. Store them if you want, but make sure they're not in your closet. Talk about the bathrooms.
Let's go into bathrooms. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
Start with number one. Number 3 made me giggle, but anyway, go ahead.
Okay.
Remove prescription drugs. Why?
Well, because people are coming through your homes, and yeah, they should have a realtor with them at all times. But there are times when people come into homes and they hit your house because they know it's on the market. Especially open houses can be an issue, and they look for things like prescription drugs. So I would take all those out of the house or store them someplace where they're not visible, not easily accessible, so that people that are coming through your house don't have access to them.
Keep the counters clean. You mean around the vanities,
right?
And stuff like
So
that. What's okay to keep out? A toothbrush?
You could keep it. You could keep a toothbrush out there, but I would get rid of almost everything.
And he's got 6 different kinds of hairspray. She's got a hair straightener, a hair dryer,
the makeup, whatever.
Cooler.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Well, she's got a makeup counter that's her own little space away from the vanity. That's
right.
I scream because who cleans the bathrooms? Me. I got to move everything around, and then I got to wipe everything down that I leave on it. Now I also have on either side of the vanity are 2 shelves.
Yeah.
That I would put my deodorant.
Sure.
Beard gel.
Yeah.
Hair gel. That just these things.
Right. What's hair gel? Sorry.
It's more like paste I put in it.
Yeah, but
you don't need that.
But
you save on that, so be glad.
I do. Keep the counters clean though.
Gotcha.
All right. Caulk is your friend.
But that's what I mean.
But not too much. Right. Well, you get those sometimes people. Caulking is one of those things that an average homeowner could probably do to make sure that their bathtub sealed up.
What they do is they cut the tip of the caulk gun
way too big.
Right. And
way
it comes
too big.
Out like
you get the big globs.
It's a centimeter instead
and they don't know to wet your finger and then wipe it around and get a nice So fresh caulk is a great thing. Especially if you see old caulk and it's got mildew in it or any of that kind of stuff, or it's cracked or missing.
That made me think about it. So how about an updated shower that has glass doors and you have these plastic fittings that tend to get discolored over time? Replace those. That's not an expensive thing to do.
Super cheap
to do. And recaulk that. I've seen the silicone gel.
Yeah.
That's keep in the cracks in those doors. It's a shower. There's a lot of moisture in there. Every once in a while, you'll see a little bit of mold or stuff in that, and there's a tool to take it out and put the silicone gel right back in.
Yep. And if you're worried about not being able to do it well, hire someone. Or you can go with clear silicone gel, which makes a little bit less visible any mistakes that you might make.
Not clear, you mean.
Yeah.
But there was a specific guy who did the doors to my shower in my bathroom. It wasn't the contractor. There was a door guy. They're out there, right? And he gave me his card when he left because he knew that at some point you're going to need to update it or fix it or re-clean it or change those.
Yep. Same thing goes, by the way, for shower curtains. If your shower curtain's dirty, you know how shower curtains get super cheap. Get the lining out of there.
It smells better as soon as when you get a brand new one in there.
Yeah. Now, by the way, if you've refreshed, like, say, the paint in your bathroom and it's a nice cool color or whatever, neutral color, but nice cool color in the bathroom, simple white, like maybe a waffle weave shower curtain, put something simple and plain in there. And also make your towels match, and also, that kind of thing. So shower curtain, towels, if you get a white towels and white shower curtain, it all matches. Again, it creates this nice consistent look and feel. All right, last thing. If you got carpet in the bathroom, get rid of it.
There's carpet in the bathroom.
Okay. Normally, it was a thing.
You're not talking about a rug or an area
carpet
to put down outside the shower. So
it was a thing in the 60s and 70s. People would carpet their bathrooms. And we got away from that. I just recently saw I think it was again Architectural Digest. One of the designers for a celebrity put carpet in a bathroom, and oh my gosh, the vitriol that was all over the internet because of that picture. It was crazy. But yeah, no carpet. No carpet in the bathroom.
Rid of it.
Yeah. If you got carpet, get rid of it. I don't care what your tile looks like. Just don't have carpet in the bathroom. All right. You got home office. That's a great.
A lot of people do.
Hey, and now we're working from home. If you got a home office, that's a great selling point for your house. If you got a nice place to work, make sure any sensitive papers that you've got are stored away. Desks should be cleaned off. I mean, I know you're working. It's an active. Sometimes it looks like an active crime scene.
Yeah, but these days, so many people are paperless. Shouldn't have a lot of stuff,
But ideally, yeah. But clean off the surface of the desk. You can have a monitor. You can have a keyboard. You can, whatever.
They get that. They can visualize themselves working, right?
But don't have, stacks and stacks of papers and magazines and things like that on the top. And then if you can, try to hide or reduce the extension cords. If you got extension cords running 50,000 different places all over the room, that just tends to detract from the scene.
There's a thing called Bluetooth out there.
Bluetooth is a good thing. Yeah. All right. Now, another area that often gets forgotten, but I think it's an important, and it's kind of inside and outside.
It's the garage.
Pay attention to the garage.
You say here, try to not make it your dumping ground. It is. It's where everything that you don't want to get rid of, that you'll probably never use again, but might just end up in the garage. I call it a hoarder's paradise.
It is. All right, so think a storage facility if you have to, but your garage should be usable as a garage. So if you've got, yes, I know you're moving, and I know you're in the midst of moving, so you might have boxes and things like that, and where are you going to put them?
That's okay. If boxes are okay, I think if they were neatly
on the
stacked,
side, right.
There's people who have great organizational skills, who have the pegboard with the tools in their garage, and everything is in boxes or containers and is perfectly neat. That stands out to me as being outstanding.
And that's okay.
But if everything is mismatched and it's a mess and it's
and it's just jumbled in the corner or whatever, so try to pay attention to your garage. Now, the other thing, if you can paint or epoxy that floor, that adds a lot of value. People really like the look of that. It really cleans it up.
You had a car that had an oil leak, and now there's a stain on it. If you could figure out a way to get rid of that, it makes sense.
It really, really helps a lot. That speckled epoxy on the garage floor, people just love that when they see that.
And it's not inexpensive.
It's not super expensive, but yeah, it can be nice. And I'll just say one last thing about the garage. If you haven't converted it to living space yet, because you see that all the time, people take their garage and convert it into living space. If you haven't converted it to living space yet, try to resist the urge unless it's absolutely necessary. If you really need it, I get it. But people like having the garage.
So we live in a climate, that didn't happen this year.
Yeah.
Well, winter weather can happen.
Can be.
Do you know how nice it is to not have to get out and clean off your car to go to work because it was in a garage?
It's a beautiful thing.
And to be able to take your snowblower, open the garage, and just start right at it.
Absolutely.
It's a big thing. Yeah. Garage is a nice thing to have.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you haven't converted that yet, try to keep it. I know it adds to maybe the living space of the home, but often it's a below grade living space, doesn't add as much value as you might think, but the garage is super valuable to people. So
this was an incredibly extensive list.
There's more.
Really?
There's more.
I thought we were done on the garage.
We're done, but
I just wanted to make a comment about the list.
Okay.
And what people are going to think of you after going through all this.
Okay.
That you have OCD to the 9th degree. You don't, but it almost. So the point
maybe it's true.
The point I'm trying to make, is that having an OCD mindset, might help selling your house.
It can, I pay attention to the details.
Every little detail matters, and people pick those things up. You never know. You can't be in everyone's mind,
right?
But you'd be surprised at what negative thing pops in somebody's mind that they remember about a house after seeing
Absolutely. It. So,
anyway,
I was alluding to the fact that there's more.
There's more, but
there's that guide,
else.
Right? So, if you want our guide on how to prepare your home for sale, again, you can just email us hello@berealpod.com. Be happy to send you a copy. Don't get overwhelmed. There's a lot there. There's a lot
Now,
there.
I am overwhelmed. I think it's going to take me 6 years to get my house ready to sell.
And it's really not.
And it's not. It's just
really
about
not.
diving in and doing it.
Right. And you know what? It's room by room checklist. And if you start checking it off room by room, it's a manageable process.
Absolutely.
All right. So, Michael, coming up, we're going to talk about the unreal
Something
and the
unreal
spotlight.
happened this week, so we're going to talk about it.
Yeah,
And the
there's
spotlight.
a couple of those. All right. So, we'll be back in just a bit.
Try it.
And we're back to Be Real, the Maryland Real Estate Podcast. I'm Brad Cox with the Vesta Group of Long and Foster, and Michael.
And I am Michael Becker of Sierra Pacific Mortgage. Brad, last segment we were talking about things we could do room by room. One of the things we talked about was letting the sunshine in.
Yes.
It made me think of a song.
Yeah.
It's driving us both crazy.
Right.
So it's Age of Aquarius. I was writing on the
Age of-
song.
right.
And you were 100% right. That came from the
Musical Hair. Yeah.
But
But the band, I had the band wrong.
the artist that recorded it, they didn't write the song. There were 3 songwriters, one lyricist and 2 songwriters.
Yeah.
Or arrangers, I suspect.
Yeah.
But it was Fifth Dimension.
The Fifth Dimension. Another number, but that doesn't improve the fact that I got it
you
wrong.
said 3 dog. No. Well,
I can't use that as defense. I got it wrong.
and a
But
completely different style of musicians. But
yeah.
it made me think. I have this weird memory for trivia and stuff like that. And another song that the Fifth Dimension did was Up, Up, and Away.
Right.
My Beautiful Balloon, right?
Yeah.
The song was written by Jimmy Webb.
Jimmy Webb.
Jimmy Webb also wrote Wichita Lineman.
Crazy
Freaking
that,
incredible.
I mean, just the genres are completely different.
It's well, you always think of the recording artist who did a song, but many songs, or most songs, I would say, are written by somebody else than
Yeah,
they perform
especially nowadays.
nowadays.
Yeah.
A lot of times with bands, they have songwriters in it, but individual performers often that's the case. And I thought that was really Wichita Lineman.
Well, can anybody, modern musicians, like pop singers, nobody writes their own music.
I don't know. They
nowadays.
might. Some of the younger ones.
I mean,
might.
maybe
I
Taylor
think Billie Eilish
Swift.
does, and
Do you
Taylor
think?
Swift and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can see Billie Eilish.
So,
That's just like the commercially mass-produced kind of guys.
well, I don't think any of them write songs. They just sample all the songs that we knew.
Well, right. Yeah.
That's an indictment on today's music. Don't I sound like an old fogey
You
when I
do,
say that?
but that's all right.
I
We
never
are old
thought-
fogies.
I had a teacher, Miss Giannis, English at Loch Raven.
Yeah.
Begin with a Y.
Yeah.
I remember her telling the class she thought she was old when she didn't recognize artists on the top 40.
Yeah.
It's, now,
can't-
I don't know.
So every day, my daughter and her boyfriend and I play Wordle, Hurdle, Quirtle, and the New York Times Mini crossword. And Hurdle, my daughter she's like
Hurdle?
like Shazam, the app that identifies music.
Mm-hmm.
That's her. It's like scary. She always gets whatever song it
Every
is.
song comes on. It drives me crazy. I play the game at the beach with her. I said, I tell her to name the song and the artist.
Okay, if it's from the 70s or 80s, I can do that.
But she knows now.
But it's now. It's anything, but she also knows the stuff from when we were growing up because I played it for years. So she knows those, but she knows everything. It's scary to me. But
Well, I'll never know everything because you can't force me to listen to today's music. Anyway, let's get back to the unreal.
yes,
It's pretty unreal, Brad.
yeah.
If you needed your money from the bank
Hopefully it's there.
and you went to announce there was a line outside the door and around the block, I saw pictures.
Yeah,
You get a little scared when
you get very scared.
So apparently this week, we talked about it earlier, because it did benefit mortgage rates because there was a concern about bank contagion.
Yeah,
Silicon Valley Bank, a bank that I never knew existed,
right.
yet
It's become very important.
it was either, I've seen 2 stats, either the 16th or 18th largest bank in the United States now.
Yeah,
It's the 2nd largest bank failure in terms of deposits,
right.
but you have a stat that it was the biggest.
It's actually the biggest run on a bank in history. So you think about the biggest in deposits that's ever failed. That was WAMU, Washington Mutual.
And that had to do with the subprime crisis and how many subprime loans they had.
Right. So that was about 16 point some million.
One day.
Over,
it took
over
10
about
days.
10 days. Over about 10 days. This was 42 million one day. Billion. That's right. With a B.
Billion.
16 billion, 42 billion.
Scary thing
and
is,
a smaller bank.
Only about 3 to 5% of the people's deposits
are insured.
FDIC insured, meaning they were 250,000 or under.
Yeah.
I think that's why that number was so big. Many of the a lot of companies.
There's a lot of VC in that.
Roku's got their money locked up. I saw there. Well, what happened? It was a venture capitalist bank. They made loans to venture capitalists.
Yep.
It's Silicon Valley, so it was tech related.
Yep.
Interest rates went up. Some of the investments that they made or loans they make maybe weren't great.
Yeah.
They needed some liquidity.
Mm-hmm.
They sold an asset they had. So a lot of the assets, banks are always going through stress tests, and one of the assets, they're called Tier 1 assets they have to have, are either mortgage-backed securities or treasury bonds. But if you bought those mortgage-backed securities or treasury bonds a year or so ago, they were worth a lot less
than they were.
And it's not a big deal if you don't have to sell them. They're unrealized gains. If you hold them to maturity, you're not going to suffer a loss on them. But if you have to sell them today, you're looking at a loss. They reported a $1.8 billion loss on sale of assets.
Yeah.
They also attempted to secure some investors some cash flow into the business. They were unsuccessful in that. That started a bank run. Mm-hmm. That bank run, the $42 billion, gave them a negative $1 billion balance
in assets, right?
Assets. So they were taken over by regulators. And there's a lot of concern out there. Everything I'm reading at this point says it might not be contagion because everybody's flashing back to Bear Stearns. Bear Stearns was kind of small. It was still a Wall Street firm when it went under, but it led to 6 months later.
Started the financial crisis.
Financial crisis led to Lehman Brothers, which was huge.
Yeah.
A very big thing. There probably are going to be some people that take haircuts when it comes to deposits and have their money there.
Well, some of the people at the Silicon Valley Bank are worried about, they're meeting payroll next week.
That's not happening.
Yeah.
No,
right.
I mean, there's 8,500 employees. They're pretty much out of work.
Well, yeah, but I meant the
people who've already worked and getting their money.
The companies that bank there meeting payroll to pay their people.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
that's going to be tough.
It is going to be tough. Yeah, and that money, as you said, not FDIC.
So it's not a good thing.
Not FDIC insured.
Right now, there is no concern about contagion, but nobody knows.
Yeah.
Right? We'll see how far this goes, but it is something to worry about.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since we had a bank fail.
It has been quite a while. Yeah.
Well, the financial crisis made them go through a lot of stress tests and requirements to hold on to a lot of assets to get through these things. This seems to be a special case, especially.
Yeah. I saw an article about how one of Silicon Valley Bank's executives had been part of the lobbying effort to reduce some of the restrictions that resulted in this issue because they got it passed a couple of years ago.
His name was Becker too.
Was really?
I swear, I think it was. I did the same thing.
Oh, that's hysterical.
I'll have to find it.
Yeah. It's not Michael Becker.
It was not me.
No.
It was under the Trump. It was a tweet that somebody I saw who was always beating up on Trump, which is easy to do.
Yeah.
But it was under the Trump administration of that regulation. I don't know. We don't know the specific.
Yeah.
But anyway, for now, folks, I think if you're FDIC insured, maybe
you're fine. Yeah.
It is Silicon Valley Bank.
Right. It's a lot of venture
very
capital,
specific,
right? And those people, I'm sorry, there are a lot of people out there who are advocating make all the depositors whole. No, I'm sorry, that was a VC bank mostly, and if you're going into that,
it was mismanagement by the bank's executive team,
but
whomever.
You choose to use a bank like that, you assume the risk.
They are audited on a quarterly and annual basis.
Yeah.
If you're going to invest if you're going to put more than $250,000 that's FDI insured, you better make sure that that's a well-capitalized bank and it's going to be okay meeting its obligations.
Yeah.
Now, bank runs are scary things, and it probably would have been fine had there not been a bank run.
Right.
But anybody who sells an asset and talks about a $1.8 billion loss, that makes people scared.
It's the crowd.
Right?
That's why mobs happen.
It's another stain on Jim Cramer's resume.
Yeah.
Because he was a couple weeks ago saying
It was about a couple weeks ago.
He said the same thing about Bear Stearns is fine. And everybody threw that in his face. Well, he said it a few weeks ago. The stock was trading at $390 a share. It's worthless now. If you're a shareholder, you're
pissed at Jim Cramer.
Well, how about if you're a shareholder, you're last in line, right?
Yeah.
Depositors get their money first before you get anything.
Right.
So
you're not getting anything.
Nothing.
Yeah.
We'll see how, you know what, if there's any updates. The only reason I brought it, because it is kind of unreal. It's been a long time since a bank failure's happened. We'll keep eyes on it and continue to report it.
Yeah. Great.
Makes a difference.
Thank you, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's move in to the spotlight.
That's going to make me hungry because I like this place.
Oh, it is a good place. Yeah, we're talking about Barrett's Grill. So they've got Barrett's Grill. Do you know John Barrett?
I do not.
John Barrett was the Loch Raven guy.
Was he really?
Yeah. So
What
go
year?
Raiders. I can't remember. But they've got 2 locations, equally awesome. They've got the Hunt Valley Town Center location. They got the newer location up in Bel Air. Barrett's on the Pike. They've got all sorts of things on the menu. It's American, right? So they burgers, pizza, salads, steaks, fish, whatever. They've got this. Okay, it's a 14-ounce pork porterhouse.
Well, just for your light lunch.
Oh yeah, just little light dining. Has some port wine apple chutney and mashed potatoes on the side. Holy cow! Well, maybe holy pig, but dude, it's so good. And then amazing desserts. Rachel is like a creme brulee aficionado, and she loves it. Yeah,
I love
Michael
creme
just showed
brulee
me
as
a
well.
picture. Gregory Becker, not Michael Becker,
The CEO.
the CEO of
So I have a
SVB.
namesake who was head of Silicon Valley Bank.
Yeah, well, way to go, Michael.
See?
Anyway, Barrett's,
I had nothing to do.
they're open for lunch and dinner every day. On Sunday, they open up at 10 a.m., a little earlier for lunch. Have you been? Have you been? You've been there, haven't you?
Several times.
Love it. Yeah. If you haven't been, folks, give them a
10
try.
a.m. for lunch on Sunday? Isn't that brunch, or do they just call it lunch?
Yeah, they open up early for brunch. Yeah, that's good.
Well, it's Sunday at 10 a.m. is brunch.
Yeah.
Just
Ish.
lunch.
Right.
Brunch.
Whatever. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
So at Barrett's Grill MD on Instagram or barrettsgrill.com.
Just Google Barrett's
Folks,
Grill. You'll
yeah,
find everything.
check them out. Really great spot, and highly recommend it.
I agree.
All right. Michael,
Another
spectacular episode.
show is in the books.
It's amazing. The hay is in the barn, to borrow a phrase from Jerry Sandusky.
But sometimes things we say make people curious,
Every once in a while.
and they may want to speak with us.
If they do, how do they get in touch with you?
With me, they can call me or text me on my cell phone, 443-310-0012, or you can reach me via email. It's my name at spmc.com. That's michael.becker@spmc.com.
Thank you, Michael. And if folks need to reach me, cell is 410-375-7550. And you can email me at brad@homesbyvesta.com. Okay, that's 410-375-7550 and brad@homesbyvesta.com. Folks, if you want to check us out on the web, you can find us at www.berealpod.com. You can listen right on the site. You can also submit comments or feedback. We'd love to get some. Let us know what you want to have us talk about, how you think we're doing. You can also listen on all the major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Audible, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Podbean, whatever. So listen up for us. Let us know how you think we're doing. And join us next week.
When?
Oh, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it because
Let's talk about it.
we're not sure. We might switch up what we're going to talk about.
Oh,
next
it's
week.
not. It's to be determined.
To be determined, because
Whatever
I
it
might
is.
want to. So my daughter gave me a great idea, and if we can work it out to talk about it next week, that's what I want to talk about.
Sounds good.
So we will talk to you soon. Thanks for listening.
Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Try it.